take a look at how to get a studio file from Silhouette Studio in to Make the Cut. Well, there are, I'm just going to close this, I think, because I don't want to overload my system. Don't need to save it. Okay, so I have quite a collection, pretty close to 10,000 designs, 9,385 in Silhouette Studio, but I don't like cutting from Silhouette Studio, just like our friend doesn't like to do that. So what I do instead is I grab the design I want. Let's say I want these pumpkins. I already had something on the screen, so I got to get rid of those. Maybe just select them all and delete. Oh, I know why I don't like this software. Okay, once you have the design on the screen, you notice that it's all line drawings, and it's okay. I'm using right here, I'm using Silhouette Studio 2.0 that came with my Cameo. If you don't have 2.0 or 1.9, you can't do this little trick, but you go to File, Save As, and then I just type in what I want to save it as. Let's call it Fall Pumpkins .svg. You have to type in the SVG, even though it says Studio down here. If you type in the SVG, and you have to use Designer Edition for this to work, and it has to be either an older version of Silhouette Studio, either 1.9 or 2.0. So I click OK, and then I open up Make the Cut, click on SVG, go to Fall Pumpkins, click Open, and there it is, ready to go. Just quick, simple. That's the way I like to do it. It was worth buying the Designer Edition just to be able to do that. But if you don't have the Designer Edition, or you don't have 1.9 or 2.0, another option is to take your, to select the shape and then click on the bucket at the top of the screen in Silhouette Studio to open the color fill, and click on the black. Then click on these colored lines, top of the screen, and click on black. So now we have a black design. Now you could do a screen capture, but screen capture has very low resolution, and if you have any text or tiny detail, you might lose it with a screen capture. So what you can do is File, Print, and you can select PDF Writer, Cute PDF Writer, or PDF Creator, Cute PDF Writer, or I have Adobe PDF. This will not print a vector file. It will print a raster file image. So I'm going to also make sure that I get this set up for 12 by 12. So you want to make sure before you print it that if you're using a 12 by 12 page that you get a 12 by 12 page on your PDF writer. And then I just click Print. And what happens is that it opens. I'm going to save this as Pumpkins 1 and save. And then it will create a PDF file. So if I go to a new page here and I click on PDF at the top of the page and Make the Cut, I'm looking for the PDF file. So I'm going to click on it, and you notice when I click on it in this window it says nothing to show. That's because there's no strokes or lines as in a vector file, but there's this blue message at the bottom. Raster images detected on this page. Click here to pixel trace instead. So I click here, and it takes me automatically to pixel trace, and I click on import, finish tracing, and there I have a better design than I got when I did. I'll do the last way is to go to the snipping tool, and we're having a little bit of time lag.
Yeah, I think it was actually still creating the PDF file, maybe because it didn't show up in your desktop.
It was. Yeah, it was still creating it, and probably because of the, there it is. So I'm going to close that PDF file, and now the other way is to grab your snipping tool, new, and we're having a really slow response. And then once it turns gray, you click and drag around it and release. And then you can go straight over to make the cut, and this time just go right into pixel trace, paste, and import. Now when I zoom in really close on this, I see that this tiny little mark here was a little different. If I type 4 and 3. Over here was where I did the PDF. I got a little tiny dot there. Let's see what it looks like over here. The dot's a little smaller, but not that much. So if you're wanting tiny detail, make the image as big as you can in Silhouette Studio. Fill it with black, and then you can most likely bring it in. These are all grouped together. When you select them, you see that they're all selected. So you can split them by clicking on the split icon down at the bottom of the screen, and then they're all on one layer. I can right-click on that layer and put to each its own, and then I could change the color of each one if I wanted. Or I could put all 3 of these on the same layer and make them, let's say, orange, and then select these 3, send them to their own layer, and make them a darker orange. Oops, you have to select a layer. There's a darker orange. Move them to the bottom and use the trash can to get rid of all the empty layers. Do a gold here. So then you could fill them in with color even. You could cut them then on the cutter of your choice. So I purchased these designs. I like to be able to even cut them on my Cameo from Make the Cut. I could also do a print and cut easier here, because all I have to do is select this and then click on this little colored triangle circle at the bottom to do a texture snapshot. And when I do that, if I go to outline, you can see that it would just cut around the printed image if I wanted to print it. These would cut all the detail, and it's so easy to do and Make the Cut that I wouldn't want to mess with it over in the Silhouette Studio. So do we have any questions?
Yeah, there's a question that says if you do the Print Studio files as a PDF, will it print the score lines as well?
Score lines don't come through very well as a PDF. And when they do come through, you can get them when you do a screen capture. Let's do a card that has score lines. Go to my cards. And let's say I just want to do this lace card. This has a score line here. If I do a PDF, I could try not filling it. Let's see what happens. And print. Although the reason it won't work right is because it's going to thicken these lines. They're not going to be a single line. But I'll print. Make sure I set it for 12 by 12 and print. This is a note card, or lacy card, lace edge card. And hasn't printed yet, it's still printing. I'll bring in the other one I did. So I click on PDF and lace edge card. Have to click on the blueprint. It will come in fine with the SVG when I do it the SVG method. This is the one I saved earlier. You'll notice that there are no lines in here where there should be a line. If I lower the threshold maybe to 60, I still don't see the line. So I don't think it's going to show up here. I could try it tracing by color even, and the line should be a little lighter, but notice down here the color doesn't really change for the lines. So I don't think I was able to get it on the PDF. So I'll just import it as is. Now doing something like this one is pretty easy to draw the score line in because you see where the score line belongs. You can just click on the pen tool, left click, and then right click. Then you can either emboss it, score it with a embossing tool, or you can do the dash lines. Oops. I'm going to undo and send that line to its own layer before I make it dashed. And that's pretty easy when you have straight lines. But when you have lines that are not straight and a lot of fancy lines where you can't really find the placement, what you can do is left click to change the line color, click on the bucket, and do, let's try a red fill. And the black line is here for the score. So if I do a screen capture,
looks like your PDF is finished printing, by the way, if you want to see what how that one comes in.
okay. I think the webinar recording has slowed it down, way down. So I did this snipping tool here, and if I go in to make the cut and click on pixel trace and paste, then I can do a color trace and select the red, apply the changes and import. Then I can, I'll just finish tracing because you see what happened here? It brought in the black lines already. And I'm going to zoom in real close. And the size you can pretty much count on being correct from the Silhouette Studio, so you don't really have to worry about size. But I'm going to type a 4 and a 3, so you can see that it does have score lines here. but the score lines are not single stroke lines. To get them to be single stroke lines, I can do it. I will have to break everything apart. Let's select these lines, and I'm just going to send them to their own layer and hide that for a second. And then I'm going to select all and join again so I don't move anything around. I'm going to show the score lines and hide the card and select those. And now I'm going to go to the wrench icon at the bottom and use thin paths so that now I have a single stroke line and I have a card. But I don't have quite the same detail as I might have if I did the print to PDF. So let's see if the PDF file actually worked.
Yeah, I don't think it did because when you looked at it in the PDF viewer, it looked like it was blank because you didn't fill it with a color.
It was empty. Yeah, so on this one we'll do it again. I'm going to go to File, Print, and make sure I've got a 12 by 12, which I do, and print. And wait till it prints with, we'll call this 2. I'll just leave it at 1 and see what happens. But I think, well, these little lacy things are not really any more detailed than what we just got on the pixel trace and make the cut. Make the cuts pixel trace is very nice. So I think we got a really good trace here. But those tiny details sometimes can be better with the PDF import. So as soon as it finishes.
So while we're waiting for it to finish, Susan, who asked the question, said, "Thank you, Julie." She had tried the snip tool earlier, and the file was very intricate, so it came out very bad. She doesn't have the designer edition, so she'll try the PDF print. So she appreciates that. And then we actually have a question from Barbara that says, "Julie, can you bring .svg files in Studio?" I'm assuming she means into Studio.
Yes. If you have the designer edition, you can. If you have just the free version, you cannot because they don't allow SVG import on the free. If you were to change it to a GSD or a DXF, you could, but we can't do that directly in this software. We could do it maybe in Inkscape, but in order to get this, let's just take this and go do a file export selection to SVG, and we'll just call this Lacy Card 3, and it's already in SVG. And then I open up Silhouette Studio. Now this is the older version. It's still busy trying to print. The newer version, it has some features that make it maybe cut a little bit better, but for my purposes in converting files, I've almost always used this version 2. Let's see.
So do the newer versions greater than 2.0 of the SVG, Silhouette Studio Design Edition, do they allow you to import SVG?
The newer versions do allow you to import SVG. I'm just going to try to close this out and see if I can open 3. I have both here. And they're very slow to open because I have so many things in my library. My library is huge. And now it's creating the PDF. and it probably won't even open up the 3, Silhouette Studio 3, until that PDF is done. So, but yes, we can take this, anything that we can do. Let's look in the gallery here. In the gallery, I'm going to go back to show you on the search that if I take out the search parameters, we can see how many SVGs there are actually and make the cut today. So if I search for everything, it says we have 11,318 files. So any of those 11,318 files, if we put them on our screen and export just like we did that card, we can export them as SVG and use them in any software that will support SVG imports. And they'll come in the right size. It's still working on that. Let's see if we can get this studio to open. I think you see why I don't like Silhouette Studio. It's slow. It's a lot slower tonight because of being on the webinar, but since I have almost 10,000 files in my library, that doesn't help because it has to add each font on my system and each file that's in the library before it will open the software. That's a royal pain.
So while we're waiting for that as well, another question came in. How did you get both versions of Silhouette Studio? It won't let me install both. That was from Teresa.
In order to get Silhouette Studio, the 2 versions, you have to delete the newer version because it automatically overwrites. It won't even let you install an older version if you have the newer version there. So you have to totally uninstall it by going to your control panel and uninstall the version 3. Then you install the version 1.9 or 2.0 and you rename it. So when I go into all programs and check computer, and I'm running Windows 7, but it's pretty much the same on XP. I don't know about 8, but program files x86 is where it is on Windows 7. It would be in program files for XP. And then I go to Silhouette Studio down here. And I changed the name of the folder to Silhouette Studio 2.0. It was just Silhouette Studio. I also changed the exe file, I believe. Yes, right here, Silhouette Studio 2.0 exe, so that I don't have 2 files with the same name, because that could mix things up. So once I have that done, then I can install Silhouette 3. And once I get that, I change it to, just because I don't want to confuse myself. Whenever they have an update to the version, I change the folder name. But in the folder, I have it just as a Silhouette Studio. So whenever there's an update, if it automatically updates, it won't overwrite my old version. If you only have the older version and you don't want the new version, then you would make sure you turn off updates in the software. And there's another thing that you can change in there, so that you make the your designer edition, the file for designer edition, a write-only file, so it can't be overwritten, and then you can use it in either version. I think it's under my documents, that file. I'm not sure I remember, so I didn't look it up. go to, I think it's the user name. I don't look at this very often. And there's a file name. Well, you'll have to write to me if you want that information, because I can't remember it right now, and I can send you the information. But here we are in Silhouette Studio Designer Edition. With the Designer Edition, you just go to File, Open, and then you go find your SVG file. And if you wait for a sale, and we've got to change this bottom thing to SVG, and click on the file and OK, and it comes in even with its color. Line wasn't attached, so undo. If you want to attach that, I think you can select all and use make a compound path. I think that joins everything up. I don't use this software hardly at all. I very rarely import SVGs into it. I really don't like the free update. I prefer the 2.9 if I had to. But anyway, any other questions on that?
Yeah, there's one question was, do you need 2 licenses to have 2 different versions of the Designer Edition Studio?
No. The same license works on both. In fact, some people have 3 versions installed, and the DE works on all 3. But write to me at craftymusician@comcast.net and request the information for how to keep the. If you don't do this, make that a license file a write only, then your Designer Edition will default to the version 3, and you won't be able to use it in the older versions. So you have to fix that. So if you write to me, I'll send you the exact instructions for all the install and everything. Any other questions? I think I quit the PDF print because it was just taking forever with this. So before I close this, any more questions on the Designer Edition of Silhouette Studio?
Yeah, but why don't you check the timestamp of the or open up the PDF?
I canceled it before it finished.
Are you positive you canceled it before you finished? Okay.
Because it was still not done. Yeah, it's not here. Sorry.
That's fine. So Lee asked a question which I answered, and I think I answered it correctly, but she goes, why can't you rename the original folder first before installing the newer version? And what I said is that's what you did. It's if you have the newer version, if you have something newer than 2.0 already installed, you have to uninstall the newer version before you can install the older version.
Actually, if you have the newer version installed, it won't even let you get that far. It won't let you even try to install the old version.
Right. But if you currently right now, if they have an older version on their machine, they could rename it and then just install the new version.
Yes, they could. That's what I did.
Yeah.
I keep the older version first, rename it, and then add the new version.
Yeah.
So it's not overwritten.
Yeah. Any other questions for Julie? Or any other questions, period?
This is kind of a lame file. I think I would redo it.
Renee wants to know, did you have to save your library before deleting it?
I didn't know. It uses both versions use the same library. I was surprised. So I can open the library in my new version, and it has all the files I downloaded using the older version. So I go to library, it uses the same exact file. The only time I need to change that library thing is when I use my laptop. I'm on my desktop right now. But these same 9,385 designs show up in my 2.0. So it uses just the same exact library file, and it uses the same exact license file on this computer. So when I installed the new, I did back it up just in case, but I really didn't have to because it kept the same file. I didn't lose anything.
Okay.
But just to be safe, you might want to copy that library file. It's right next to the license file, wherever that is. And I have to look it up. I have notes in my little journal here. That's my brain. I put all that information in my journal so that when somebody asks, I can look it up.
So she
and then
says,
when I want
thank
to
you.
back it up, I do that too. I just go to my journal to remember how to back it up. I ought to back it up more often, but I do have an automatic backup of my system now, so not quite so worried about it. But when I want to get those files to my laptop, then I just copy those the one file, the library file, to my laptop, and it gives me all the files there as well.
Okay. She says thank you. And then how did you get your itemized folders in My Library Files? That's a question from Kay.
Oh, okay. If you want to add a folder here, you go to My Library, and you right-click, and you click on New Folder. Then you type in the name of the new folder. Let's see, I might name this Halloween, because I don't have a Halloween folder. And then it pops back up in alphabetical order where it should be, I think. Yeah, it's still selected right up there. So then I can drag all of my designs in there. So I have the same filing system for all my Make the Cut designs. So if I want to see what I have in studio files, I never cut them from here, but if I'm searching for something, I really like being able to see the pictures. And then once I find what I want, then I just export it and take it over to Make the Cut. So I might have, I have 919 boxes and bags because I love boxes. And so then I broke those up. You can do the same thing, right-click on this one to add subfolders. So I have animal boxes, baskets, bowls, boxes with drawers, clamshell, cookie boxes, cube boxes, hex boxes, flower boxes. You can add subfolders.
Okay. Teresa says thank you. Any other questions for Julie or I or Susan for Make the Cut, Pop-Up Card Studio? Does anybody have a microphone that would like to be unmuted to make a comment or ask a question before we stop the recording? If you do, go ahead and click on the raise hand icon. Otherwise, we will at least stop the recording.
Here is my 2.0, and if I go to Library here, I just wanted to show you that Library does have the same 9,385 files. So and I download new ones every Tuesday. Ooh, it's Tuesday, isn't it? I download all the free ones. They have free files at every Tuesday. You click on Purchase Online, and you go over here, and now this is the free file. So everybody can do this. You can practice your new skill. That's your homework. Go to Silhouette Studio, click on the free file, or Purchase Online, and then you just add it to your cart. Once you add it, it's free. So then you go to your cart and you click on Checkout, and if you don't have an account, you'll have to sign in and get one, and then it'll put this design, if I type the right password, it'll put this design in your library under New Downloads, and then what was that? Once it's finished downloading, which is usually much quicker than this, then you can find it, and then you can double click it and you can add it to make the cut, even if you don't even use any of the Silhouette stuff.
Okay, the last question for Silhouette Studio is, the ones in my library are the ones you got outside of Silhouette, right? That's a question mark from, or that's a question from Kay.
Well, there are 50 free files that you can get, and you can also add your own. Under My Own Designs, you can add to your library. The ones that are in my library, I got all of those, almost all of them, from the Silhouette store. I don't add anything to it. If I have it from somewhere else, I keep it in my Make the Cut file. But if you buy them from the Silhouette store, they go into your library automatically as you download them. And since they have a free file every week, if you've been downloading free files for 10 years like I have, then you could have a lot of them in your library already.
520 of them.
But if you don't download them, you don't yeah, you don't. It's still really slow, so.
I think we get the idea.
So you can grab it and then do the same thing. You can add your own SVG files to it, the library, but they won't appear in color most of the time.
Okay, any other questions?
If you put them in My Own Designs.
Anybody have a microphone that would like to be unmuted? Raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and stop the recording. Okay, I don't see anything. So let me go ahead and stop